Hi everyone, welcome to Zero to One, organized by Doers Circle. This is our 62nd episode. We organize Doers Circle's Zero to One event every week. We also organize this twice a week, but we've now moved to once a week, and we bring stories, inspiring lessons, learnings, and knowledge that our community needs from experts, from founders, those who have done it and are doing it, learning while doing it as well. And we are excited to have a founder today, and that's Yannick Dedigama. Yannick is the co-founder and CEO of the Ripple Club. I'll let Yannick introduce himself a bit more and also the business. But Yannick has been doing this business for the last 13 years and is an interesting startup to learn more about. But he's also talking about the founder journey and his learnings over 13 years. All founders usually say like, I wish I knew this before. And we have someone today who's coming out and sharing those learnings now, so that when you start, if you're starting in coming months, coming years ahead, you have some learnings, some insights to start with. And the objective of this session is to share some of those learnings that Yannick has learned the hard way. Yannick, thank you again for joining Towards Circle's Zero to One session. I will add you as a panelist, and then we'll get your presentation shared and get underway. Hi, Yannick.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi, Yannick. Thank you again for joining Zero to One. And yes, you've shared the screen. And yeah, thank you again. And we would love to know a bit more about you. I know you're going to share your journey as well. But can do a small intro and then get through the presentation. And then in the second half of the session, we will have a discussion on things that they come up from the presentation and things that people may want to discuss as well. And then to the audience, thank you again for joining this week, and feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A thread, and we will take those into discussion at the end. Thank you. Can I call with you?
Thank you, Yassas, and thank you to the Doer Circle for putting this together. I think they have a fantastic business, and I love anyone who's helping anyone do business or entrepreneurship or adding value to the world. So well done, Doer Circle, for being a fantastic business. So yes, thanks for the introduction. Before I get into things, I don't know if you can chuck it into the comments or maybe let me know, but do we have any other founders here with us today? Or does anyone have any background in entrepreneurship or who is looking to start a business? I'd love to be able to tailor the content based on you. So feel free to share, and then we can move forward. So a little bit about myself. So okay, consulting business from Kevin. Cool. Well, hopefully this can add a little bit of business, a bit of knowledge to you. So, as I mentioned, my name's Yannick. I am the co-founder of the Ripple Club. And my journey through entrepreneurship has really been led by the belief that growth comes from movement. As you can see, the Ripple Club is a fitness business. It's an aquatic-based fitness business. And obviously, movement is important for your physical health, but that is also true for your mental health and your business. So by creating movement, you start creating traction, and getting that traction allows you to open up the world. And that's why I truly believe that, yeah, growth is really everything coming from movement. The second thing is really understanding your why. So why you start a business. So we started the Ripple Club because my wife at 17 was diagnosed with a really bad knee syndrome, and she couldn't walk up and down stairs. She couldn't do land-based exercise anymore. And she was given two alternatives: to either go through painful medication every day or go for knee surgery. At 17, you can imagine that that's not something that you want to go through. So she was looking for alternatives, and aquatic fitness kind of came about. Not the most riveting way of doing exercise for most people. You think aqua aerobics, you think, you know, older people in the pool. But she found aqua biking, so it's cycling classes in the pool, and it completely regenerated her knee. So she was able to rehabilitate herself from this exercise. And why I share this is that from the cornerstone, from the get-go, that's been the driving why of what we do. You know, we are in the business of helping to change people's lives for the better. And if you look at a lot of the fitness programs out there, a lot of it caters to fit people who are looking for that six pack, but the people who need it the most are people who are starting off. So that's where we started, and that's our why. And that why now reverberates through the organization. So everybody's working towards a common goal, and that is to make sure the client has an incredible experience when they join our fitness classes. And today, I'm really striving to help to inspire some of you to start your fitness journey or your business or entrepreneurship. So let's move swiftly into kind of what I'm going to be talking about today. So there's four key lessons that I want to get through. One is going to be our launch formula. So what do you want to know before when you launch a business? And this is not going to be your regular kind of, oh, you have to set up a business, obviously. Thank you. It's going to be really about understanding what you need personally and what holds people back from starting their business. Lesson number two is all about cash. And this is not just going through your P&L and some boring crap like that. This is really understanding why cash is king, but also how can you think differently to make sure that your business is atypical. And I'm going to share a few secrets that I've learned about how to structure things and what to think about before you start your business. Lesson three is all about systemization. This is probably the biggest gold mine that you can have. And I'll share a little bit more about really how you can free yourself as an entrepreneur, but how you can scale and build your business. And lesson four is scaling, but also understanding how the importance of pivoting. Market changes. You understand once you launch that, change is essential. So let's get straight into things. So talking about launching a business, and action gives clarity, not planning. This is an extremely important reasoning to understand, because when you plan, a lot of people tend to plan and overspend a lot of time in planning. It will never be perfect. That's the reality of things. Your business plan will never be perfect. But what you can do is start taking action. And what people don't understand, and the reason people spend so much time planning is because that's what's comfortable. That's where people feel the comfort of having a chat with ChatGPT and finding out what the perfect plan is, or creating financials and saying, "Oh, look, I could reach the moon with this financial projections that I have." It's very comfortable doing that. What's uncomfortable is the doing part. And that's where the secret sauce is. That's where the clarity comes from. When you start doing and you get that action moving, that's where it is. So effective progress is really achieved through action, not through theoretical planning. And preparation can paralyze decision making. So what I tell people is focus on doing. This experience leads to more clarity and better improvement. Build some traction, get going, adapt, and the cycle kind of just keeps going. I've seen so many founders get stuck up on building the perfect logo, building the perfect website, having the perfect go-to-market strategy. Trust me, get moving and then adapt. So that brings me to my second point, which is really all about embracing the imperfection and keep going. And this is where the success formula lies. You need to launch, but just not launch and just let it go. You want to launch, but also listen, gather feedback attentively, seek the crucial insights. And the crucial insights are the ones that you don't want to hear. They are the ones that you want to get that uncomfortable feedback from your clients, because that's what's going to allow you to be able to kind of move forward and get things going. So your customers will shape your business more than your business plan will. And that's been a really, really pivotal insight because you may think you have the perfect product or the perfect service, but then people are only willing to pay what they truly believe in. So, for example, you can put your house on the market and you can think it's worth $1 million. The reality is your house is only worth what people are willing to pay for it. So stop trying to overthink of what it is and just get going. Once you get going, be open, improve, adapt, constantly look at how you can enhance the customer's relationship. This is where a growth mindset really plays part because by having a growth mindset, you don't get stuck in the day to day. You're open to understanding and learning constantly. And as entrepreneurs, I can tell you there's one thing you are constantly going to be learning. Lesson number two is all about cash, and cash is king. So I like to think that revenue is a vanity metric. It's really nice to be able to tell people, oh, I hit $100,000 in sale last week or whatever it was. The reality is profit is sanity. That's what really drives the needle. But even with profit, you can still suffocate because the reality is cash flow is king. This is what's going to be able to kind of keep you afloat as the months go by, as the weeks go by, as the years go by. And I can tell you after 13 years, we've really focused on how can we create better cash flow systems. So there's two ways that I want to approach this. One is the business model that you create, because when you start thinking about these things from the get-go, it's much easier to implement them into your business. And the second one is recurring revenue and thinking about how money today is worth a lot more than money tomorrow. So the first thing is finding a gap. And I don't mean a gap in the market for your service or your business or whatever it may be. I mean a gap of how can you do things differently? I want you to flip your thinking into the mindset of, okay, I'm going to create a business and I'm going to share a few things now, but I want you to keep these in mind when you build your business. Because if you look at businesses like Uber, for example, Uber didn't just create a booking system for taxis. They thought, okay, we have all these assets on the road already. How can we bring those assets online, connect them with a customer, and we can make revenue out of that? It's so smart, right? You're using someone else's assets to be able to drive your revenue and sell your service. So try to think of ways that you can do this in a different manner. So, for example, our business model. When we started, we didn't have enough money to build pools. Pools are expensive. So we were like, okay, well, what can we tap into an existing structure? And that's where we found that working with condos, there's so many pools in Singapore. Why don't we go and start doing classes in existing facilities? And that was a way for us to tap onto an existing asset, lower our overheads, and allow us to have a much better margin and a much cheaper go-to-market strategy because we didn't have to spend $500,000 building a pool before even knowing that people were interested in our product. We were able to launch having spent maybe 20 grand on purchasing some equipment. We went straight into market and we made 20 grand in the first month of operations. So have a think about how you can do things a little bit differently to allow you to go to markets faster and have less overheads. So the fourth commandments that I have, and this is where you want to be, this is what you want to be using when you're thinking about your business model. Number one, get paid. And I don't mean get paid one day. I mean, get paid now, today, as soon as possible. Get paid before the customer comes. If you can do that, you create upfront cash in your business, which makes it super good for you on the long term from a cash flow perspective. And then you service that product. So you reduce the risk you have And then if you think about our business, for example, we get paid up front. People utilize their packages or service, whatever they do. At the end of the month, we might pay some rent or we might pay our employees or wherever it may be. But we've got a month where we've got cash in and then no cash out until the end of the month. So you can imagine that leverages our ability to be able to have steady cash flow throughout the month and the year. Number two is make it as seamless as possible for customers to give you money. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Of course, of course you want to give, but you'll be surprised how difficult certain people can make it. Apple is a really, really good example of this. Within 3 clicks, you can pretty much buy a new iPhone on an Apple website. That's how seamless they've made it. They've integrated with every kind of payment platform. They've made sure that as a customer, you can give them money as easily as possible. And it makes sense, right? You want your customers to give you money. That's how you sustain things. So always have that in the back of your mind. And nowadays, it's amazing. We know you have Stripe, you have different payment processing plans. So you can make it super seamless. Number two is recurring revenue. Make sure that you automate things as much as you can. Subscription economy is booming because you can you can plan out your average revenue months ahead and you know what kind of cash is coming in. So recurring sales and automations is really allowing you to go very far. And then you can also upsell customers. So, Yannick might have a subscription to this plan. Hey, Yannick, why don't you add $5 more and get access to this much stuff? So you can upsell people through the client journey. Three is going to be all about overheads and costs. Reduce your overheads as much as possible. I know you think that, that business, that office space is really nice. And I have to have that nice office to be able to meet my clients and welcome them so that they see that I am a really successful startup. Essential is not essential. You don't need that nice office. You don't need to pay, $500 a month to have a letterbox in the center of town. These are all things that we think we place a lot of importance on, but the reality is that's not true. Manage your costs as much as you can. Every dollar that you spend needs to have $3 to $5 in terms of revenue. So that starts thinking, okay, well, do I really need that staff? Especially in a day and age of automation with agentic AI, you can start leveraging a lot of things on that. And my fourth one is delay gratification. We live in a world where, we get those dopamine hits from Instagram, from all of these different places. Delay your gratification. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you might have a good month or two or three. Great. Sales are coming in, or maybe you raise some funds. Fantastic. All of a sudden, you've got 100 grand, $1 million in the bank. Fantastic. But know your burn. Know how long that's going to last you if you had zero revenue coming in. You want to have about a 3 to 6 month cash reserve to allow you to get through any difficulties. I have a service-based business. We survived COVID. We weren't allowed to operate. We were given massive roadblocks in our business. We were only able to survive because I have these 4 commandments in place. I have very low overheads, which allowed me to not have to spend too much during COVID. It allowed me to bring in cash reserves. I was lucky I had some cash reserves to push me through. But these 4 commandments here, I would say, are everything you need when you start thinking about starting a business. If you can build a business model around this, trust me, success will come and find you. Lesson three, systemization. You are the product of your systems. To improve your results, you really need to make sure that you improve your systems. And I cannot underscore how important this is because when you start systemizing things, everything flows. And I can tell you from a founder's perspective, you're always going to have a lot of work on your plate, but you need to have systems in place to have everyone else working with you. So one of the key things that I learned very early on is have a hard look in the mirror. Be honest with yourself as an entrepreneur. What are you good at? What are you really good at? What do you love doing? And then on the counter side of that, what are you bad at? You can't be good at everything. There are certain things you don't enjoy. It might be sales, it might be accounting, it might be marketing, it might be design. Whatever it is, if you don't enjoy doing it, you're probably not good at it. So once you've had that hard look around you about yourself, build a team around you that has those strengths. Don't just find someone else just like you. Find someone who has the traits that you want that you don't have. And thirdly, document once, delegate twice, and automate anything that repeats itself. And this is a really important approach to systemization. So this is the freedom formula. How do you kind of break free as a founder? You want to make sure that you embrace structure because by embracing structure, you really give yourself a much better efficiency for your business, but you also support the growth and you have effective management. So when you establish systems, you know, you start having greater efficiency, less chaos. It creates a solid foundation that supports the growth and enables efficient systems of daily operations. And I can't underscore just how important this is. When you start embracing structure, you create that freedom around you. And those systems free up your time, they free up your mistakes, but they also, reduce your mistakes, but they also allow you to scale, which we're going to get into. So when you think about achieving your results, right, you want to increase the productivity, you want to focus on the strategic growth initiatives. So by having structure, you're not working in your business anymore. You're working on your business. And working on your business allows you to achieve the results that you're looking for. Lesson number 4 is all about scaling and pivoting. And someone very smart said, we have stubborn on our vision, but we are flexible in our details. So Jeff Bezos, when he created Amazon, he was very he was very stringent on what the vision of the business is. This is what we do. But he was flexible about how they go about it. And this is really important because a lot of people think pivoting is a bit of a failure because you weren't able to do something the first time round. But it's not. You went to market, you learnt, and now you're adjusting. So it's completely normal. When we launched our business in 2012, we were all about condos. Okay, let's go and use the existing pools in condos and we'll do fitness classes there. Lo and behold, condos had a lot of red tape around them. Trying to get clients into those condos was not scalable. It was just a bit of a nightmare. So we shifted. Okay, condos aren't working out. Let's shift to country clubs. And country clubs exploded. We all of a sudden had a marketing arm because the country club members all have EDMs that we can send to. We all of a sudden had the operations. We had everything we needed. And boom, straight away, we started making cash in hand. It was great. It was a fantastic business model. But we found that we couldn't scale further than a certain amount of classes per location. And we were trapped. There was only a certain number of people within a country club that wanted to come to our classes. There was a lot of people from the public who were like, well, I'm not a member. How can I join? So we pivoted. Okay, let's start working with hotels. And in 2015, we started working with hotels and we went from having 5 locations to now having 10. So it allowed us to have way more scale, way more number of clients coming through the door. And now in 2025, we're like, okay, how can we scale the business further? So now we're looking at selling the license and the knowledge and the IP that we've built over the years to gyms and to country clubs and to hotels for them to be able to run our programs without us having to operate it. So constantly evolving the way that we run our business and listening to what's happening, but also thinking about ways that we can get better scale and more revenue. So the big takeaways for me and the scaling truths, you know, where you focus amplifies everything that you do. So uh, where you place your focus is really where you're going to be going. And for me, it was all about reducing the amount of noise that's around you because when you clarify what you don't do, you become very effective at what you do well. I can't tell you the number of times people have approached us and told you, hey, why don't you start Pilates? It's a great business. People are making so much money. Great, but that's not what we do. We always stayed true to our very niche market and we doubled down on that because we knew that we had built the brand language about what we do. We had built our website around all about supporting people who really needed it. So when you concentrate on your core competencies, you allow your business to maximize the impact and drive results. Narrowing your focus enhances the clarity and the effectiveness of achieving your goals. Next one is going to be unlearn to evolve. So, sometimes we have the big growth that comes from, you have to let go of the old beliefs and start working on the new ones. So, unlearning is a very difficult trait. I'll be honest with you. We do things in a certain way. We're used to doing it. You have to unlearn those things. But by being able to embrace the change and letting go of outdated practices, outdated beliefs, especially in this day and age with AI changing the world the way we do things, this flexibility is crucial to allowing you to adapt to new challenges, ensuring that you have sustainable and dynamic and growth through a dynamic market. So I really can't stipulate how important that is in this day and age. Um, and then, pivoting is a strategy. It's part of success. If you recognize that a pivot is essential for success, then you change the way that you start looking at it. You think about the strategic adjustments that you can make to prevent the stagnation of your business, and you want to enable to seize a new opportunity while adapting to changing circumstances. So by having this mindset, it's kind of similar to your growth mindset. You're able to see things with a little bit more clarity. This is what I had to talk about. I tried to keep it relatively short so that we can dive into some Q&A. I would love to connect further with anybody who wants to. So feel free to give it a scan and grab me on LinkedIn. You've got my email there as well. And if you're interested in the Ripple Club and what we do and learning a little bit more about what we do, the rippleclub.fit is our website. Thank you all so much for being here and listening to me for half an hour.
Thank you very much, Yannick. I think that's a inspiring story and lots of good learnings as well, good insights. And we've gotten quite a few questions actually in the Q&A thread. So I'll probably pick a few from there. Then we can also have a couple of questions along the way as well. The first question, Yannick, is around the focus on doing. Love the focus on doing. And at Doers Circle, we are also about doing. Not to say that planning is not important. It is definitely important, but it is also about getting things done, starting things to kind of move things, move the needle, move to execution fast, learn fast as well. But this question is, have you also burnt fingers by moving to execution too fast?
There is a fine line. It's all about finding balance. Um, you need to be able to balance those two. The reality is though that 80% of people have a great idea. If you speak to anybody on the street and be like, "Hey, have you got any business ideas?" "Oh, I've got this, that, this, that." You know what? No one's ever done this. And that's all well and good, but the reality is people don't execute on them, right? So everyone has an idea that's going to change the world and make them billionaires. The problem is people get either they shy away from the idea because they don't believe in themselves, which is a whole other story, or they think about it too much before even trying it out. So, of course, I've been burnt. I've tried things, didn't work out. But you know what the great thing is? It doesn't matter. No one cares. Um, it's like
Right.
dating, right? When you go for a date, and if you're scared to ask a girl out for a date, how many times are you going to go on a date? Zero. But the guy who in high school was able to always have a new girlfriend and always have the best dates was the one guy who was always out there saying, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to speak to that girl. I'm going to ask her out. So you have to be practical and pragmatic about it. And I'm not saying that planning is not important because planning has its importance, of course. But don't get held up in the planning stage for 2 years and never launch anything. Try, get moving. And what I think fascinating about the day and age that we live in is with AI, you can literally speak to Lovable or whatever it may be and create a website and just launch it. And if you're selling a service or if you're selling a product, you know, go sell it and then find out if there's an actual market traction for it. And if people buy, you're like, okay, shit, let me figure out how I can now bring that product out. But a lot of people want to design the perfect product or the perfect service and then realize that there's actually no one there to buy it.
Thanks, Yannick. And the next question from Kevin. Can I please know about your business a bit more? I guess you've shared along the way, but maybe we give a snippet again.
So aquatic-based fitness, when we started, was still very much a rudimentary aqua aerobics, kind of,
Hmm.
your noodles and your pool noodles and grandmas and things like that. And
Hmm.
we wanted to kind of reshape the way that people perceive aquatic fitness, and that's where we launched the Ripple Club. So we've got stationary cycling classes in the pool. We've got boxing classes in the pool. We've got strength training classes in the pool. And the wonderful thing is, it's all made to be the resistance that you need. So, what we've seen, and this has taken us 13 years to understand, in the beginning, everyone could join. It's the perfect workout. An athlete can join, a grandma can join, someone with an injury can join. It's perfect. So, we started marketing to everybody. What's the problem with marketing to everybody? You market to nobody. So we, bit by bit, started understanding who our key target demographic is. And by understanding who our key target demographic is, we started building the language in our website, making sure that the pictures on our website represent the target market that we want. And
Hmm.
by doing that, we were able to drive more and more people into our business. So we had to we had to go through this and reiterate it, and we went through a whole brand rebranding, and it was a wonderful exercise. I mean, rebranding is such a fun thing to do, but essentially understanding your business and your customer is everything. So now we work with hotels and we leverage existing assets within a hotel and we run fitness classes within them. And what's great about that is that a hotel wants more activities. They want more wellness in their hotel. And then we get a rental of a pool for relatively cheap by bringing those services into a hotel. And on top of that, we bring the local economy into the property, which now allows the property to cross-sell the local economy into food and beverage, into spa services, whatever it may be. But then the hotel guests get a great activity to join when they're staying in town. So we look for a win-win in the partnerships that we create. Um, and that's our business model. And now we've reiterated where we sell the license and the knowledge that we've built over 13 years to allow other people to build their own businesses.
Right. Thanks, Yannick. And I guess one question I was going to ask was about the geography that you support, and I think it's mostly Singapore, and that will also connect to one of the questions in the Q&A section. How do you envision growth from where you are? especially globally. I think you touched on that from this answer and also during your presentation, but maybe we talk about the geography a bit more, where you focus now and how do you see this doing in the coming months and years.
So we're an international business. We've got studios in Singapore, in Bangkok. We
Oh,
we do have a footprint in Australia and in Dubai. So
mhm.
we've scaled the business internationally. Um,
Right.
it's that's where your systems come into place.
Mhm.
And that's where you understand how fundamental it is to have everything in an SOP, a standard operating procedure, because there are language barriers. Thailand and Singapore, you know, the way that we do things is very different. So standardizing things as much as you can is crucial if you want to be able to scan geographically overseas. It's probably one of the hardest things I've had to do because
Mhm.
you're not only scaling your business, you're managing people who are different to what you know. In Singapore, we're relatively lucky that we have a huge amount of people from all around the world, but we're all in Singapore and we all work in a certain Singapore mindset way. Culturally, there might be some differences, but we all speak English. We all do things in a relatively similar fashion. When you start scaling internationally, especially to countries like Indonesia or Thailand or any other country in Southeast Asia, the reality is people are different. They think differently. The way you speak to someone is very different. In Thailand, I can't tell an employee like, all right, Yasas, why didn't you get me these numbers yet? I need to see them. What's going on? Why haven't you hit your business KPIs? They're going to be like, oh, no, 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 no. And they'll probably quit.
Mm.
You need to be super soft. You need to articulate things in a way that are really cradling them and telling them how wonderful they are and how wonderful
Mm.
they've done. Now, how can we work together to hit those KPIs? So that's a cultural thing that's been really interesting from a scaling perspective.
Right. And there's another question. This is around Singapore as well, from Anil in Australia. I'm assuming, Anil, you're looking at Singapore as a market. Do you find Singapore market to be saturated for sports-related businesses?
Um, yes and no. There's
Right.
always space for some good idea. I mean, if you asked the founders of Uber back when they started Uber, is the taxi market saturated? Yeah, of course it's saturated. Um, so maybe the run-of-the-mill fitness sports probably is saturated. That's not to mean that you can't still have a great business idea. I still see so many brands coming to Singapore um, constantly. So there's always an opportunity. And I mean, if you look at the data, I think the penetration rate of fitness in Singapore is still only like 7% or something like that, maybe a little bit higher. I should look at those stats again, but it's
Yeah.
still very low. So
Right.
there still is a big amount of a big gap in the market and an ability for people to be able to find their niche. So I would say do your research, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it really depends on what service you're providing. And happy to have a chat further if you'd like to email me.
Sure. Sure, Anil, please get in touch with Yannick if you have further questions or you want to have a chat. And we are happy to connect with Yannick as well. And there's two more questions from Anil, but I'll pick them as well. But you're more than welcome to have a chat directly with Yannick. The next question from Anil again is that he joined a bit late. You are sharing the why, and I think that's extremely important for a business. Would you mind sharing your why again? Sorry, but how it helps you keep the business on track every day, if that's a true statement.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the why is everything. And it's not just about the founder because the reality is, there are days where it's hard. It's difficult. You've been working your ass off and sales aren't coming through. You just get negative, 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 negative. You get down. So by having that why, it allows you to kind of just reattach yourself to, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Remember it, and let's get back into it. So obviously from a fitness business perspective is very easy, right? We see the impact, the positive impact that we're having on people's lives on a daily basis.
Right.
So, for other people, it might be a internal, intrinsic why they do things. Maybe it's, you want to elevate your family into a new position. So I know salespeople who do a lot of cold calls. They'll have a picture of their kids on their desk, and they know they need to hit 50 sales calls. And every time they get rejection, 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 they look at their kids and it reminds them why they're doing this. But I know I shared about my wife and her problems with her knees and seeing the change in her life from being able to from not being able to do pretty much anything on the land to being able to fully function again. And then now seeing the number of clients that we've been able to bring through that, that's the why that really keeps us going.
Thank you, Anil. Yeah, Anil for the questions and Yannick for frank kind of explanation. And I think that's a very strong why to do what you are doing, and you're helping many people in their wellness journey, right? So it's a life-changing thing that you're doing. Thank you. The next one, Yannick, is how do you find your customers? I guess it's pretty generic, but maybe we speak a bit about market access, I guess.
Referrals is the best thing in the world. Word of mouth. If you can get your clients to refer people to your business, that's the winning strategy. Of course, that's not everything. Um, I would say there's the most important is understanding who your customer is. If you can understand who your customer is, you can speak the language and you can find them in the places where they are. If you don't know who your customer is, you're throwing a needle in a haystack, and you're doing meta ads, and you're paying stupid amount of money to Mark Zuckerberg that doesn't need any more money. So you need to understand who it is that you're trying to target. And then it's not just about creating targeted ads to those people. It's understanding the nuances they have, understanding what what's holding them back, and then using the language to meet them where they are. Because if you can't figure out what it is that they need, or what if they don't even know that they need it, but you need to speak their language and you need to meet them where they are. Otherwise, you're going to be just glossed over and you're never going to get the people that you want into your business. So I would say be super specific about who you want to talk to. And actually, Gatorade is a really good example of this. Gatorade was a brand that was failing. It was like gone. I think it was in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
that it was just absolutely blown out of the water because it was just like a great drink to have. It was just a nice tasting drink. And then they were like, okay, how do we change the marketing tactics around this? And that's where they started leaning into sports. Electrolytes, it's a sports drink. This is what you drink when you're a sports person. And they started doing brand activations around. If you look at the NFL, all of those guys have a Gatorade keg next to them. They pour it onto the coach. Great branding. So once they understood that they wanted to market to the 17 to 20-year-old sports person and they want to get those drinks in their hands, the whole philosophy of the brand changed, and where they market, what they did, the brand language they use, the pictures they use on their websites and their marketing strategies all changed to align to that. And lo and behold, sales went through the roof. So that's a great example of making sure that you speak to the person that you want. And then the great thing is off the back of that, of course, you get a much wider audience, but you still have to continue to speak to that key audience that you want.
Thank you. Yannick, we have quite a few questions still remaining in the Q&A thread, and more questions are coming. But thank you everyone for the active participation. And this is exactly what we need as well. It's not a lecture. It's a conversation with fellow founders as well as those who want to start businesses. Kevin's question: any thoughts on recruitment in the sense what type of people fit well for startups and how you go about finding them?
Recruitment is probably the most difficult thing. When you start a business, the first thing that you think is going to be the hardest thing to do is making money, right? You think, I need to make money. That's like the number one priority. To be honest with you, if you have a business and it's not making money, you probably don't have a good business. So that's gone. So making money is like it should happen anyway. The reality is managing people and finding good people, that's the true essence of a scalable business. Um, and this is where I still have a lot to learn. So I'll be very honest with you. We do a lot of screening when we do our interviews. We do psychographic analysis, so they have to go through and answer a lot of questions, and it's not a yes no, it's a
Mhm.
understand them as a person perspective. So I want to know who Yasas is. I want to know, is he an introvert? Is he an extrovert? You know, what does he like to do on the side? Um, because the reality is those are the things that move the needle. Um, Unfortunately, you can do all of that on the outset, and a person can be a great hire for 3 months. And I'm telling you, once they're um the what do you call that period? The probation period is over,
Probation period, yeah.
that's when you see who the true person is. So um I would say extend the probation 3 times just to make sure that you've got the right person. Um the reality is you probably won't find the right person until they start working with you. That's why a lot of companies, they'll promote people internally because you know what they're like. You've been working with them for a long time. Um, and when you do get to hiring, just understand that you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. It's not your fault. It's the reality of the game. Hire, I think I can't remember what the phrase was, but it was like do your due diligence and hire very slowly, fire very quickly. And I know that sounds horrible as a human being, but
Mm.
it's just brutally honest. And I've made this mistake so many times where I'm like, I'm the number one supporter of so many people. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be all right. He's just working through. He's just understanding the business. It'll get there. It'll get there. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. It's not your fault. It's not their fault. It's just the way it is. And fire.
Yeah. I'll pick Benny's question next. I know, Anil, you have another question, but if we have time, we'll pick that at the end. But I know you're also most probably going to connect with Yannick. So Benny's question I'll take now. Do you have supporting methods to find UI or even you business? Not fully getting that. Do you have supporting methods to find UI or even you business?
So I think
Benny,
you mean
maybe.
your
Hmm,
why. Um,
hmm,
And this is something that comes from the heart. It's not something that you kind of have a methodology of. But I would say number one, read Simon Sinek's Start with
hmm,
Why. So Simon Sinek is really the one who created this whole understanding of why. Watch his YouTube videos, read his books. He's an incredibly intelligent guy, and he shares so much. So Start with Why is a great book to understand kind of how to go about that. So I think that would be the number one thing I would say. Um, and then follow something that you're passionate about and build a business around something that you enjoy doing. Caveat to that, if you love doing something, people always say, oh, follow your passion. You'll never work a day in your life. Bullshit. Because the reality is, you will quickly not be doing what you loved in the beginning and be doing business work. So you're going to feel like horrible because you're not being able to do that anymore. And for example, fitness coaching. I love fitness coaching. It's one of the things that I excel at. I love it. I've had to pull myself away from that and focus on business growth and management rather than that. So I'm passionate about seeing the impact that we have on people. I'm passionate about empowering other instructors to be able to conduct that and provide that service to our clients. And then now I've been able to amplify. So I've gone from being able to service, let's say, 100 people a week to now being able to service thousands of people a week because I've multiplied the impact that I can have by having different people in the business.
Thanks, Yannick. And I'll take Jamie's question next. What's one thing you would recommend a fellow entrepreneur to focus on in the early stages of their journey? Thanks, Jamie, for the question.
One thing to focus on, um, like my whole presentation was about that. So
One
um,
thing you would recommend a fellow entrepreneur to focus on in the early stages.
get going, start, just go, just start. Don't think about it too much. Get moving, try and pivot and try and pivot and change. Um, Number two, cash. You need to make money. If you're not making money, then I'm sorry, but you don't have a great business. Um, and then I would say read, educate yourself. So there's an incredible book out there called E-Myth, um, and it's the entrepreneur's myth. So I would definitely get in there because part of the E-Myth, he has this thing called the EOS, the Entrepreneur's Operating System. It's life-changing book from an entrepreneur business perspective. The E-Myth, I would say, read that because when you're starting a business, it'll help you start articulating the things that you want. Because one of the things he says is, don't start with just a small idea. Start with a massive, grand idea and then work towards getting there. He gives you, like, literally gives you the operating system to run your business on. It's been one of the most pivotal books that I've ever read from an entrepreneurship perspective. And then from an introspective perspective, and this is connecting back to the why, I would say read The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, the book by
I
Stephen
love it too.
Covey.
Yeah,
It's, the Bible of personal development. And by working through that book, you get clarity on who you are, and then you get clarity on the impact that you can have on others.
sure. Thank you. I'll move faster, Yannick, because we have only like 4 minutes left, but three questions to get through. This is on COVID. How have you survived COVID? I can imagine pivoting was key at that stage, this stage of
Yeah, COVID, I'd rather forget about it. It was a horrible time. But yeah, we pivoted quickly. We had to move fast. We did online programs. I mean, the reality of everyone who kind of went through COVID.
yeah. Sure. Next question. I have to go, but thank you for sharing your wonderful story. So it's not a question, it's a compliment, but I also see lots of compliments coming with all the hearts and thumbs up and reactions. Yannick, I think the audience is definitely finding this useful, insightful. So thank you very much. Benny has one last question as well. It seems many markets are saturated, and whenever I have an idea, it is already executed. What's your recommendation to tackle this at the beginning of your journey since it's demotivating?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a world where now with technology, everything's been created, everything's out there. Um, and that's where I was talking about think differently, think out of the box, try to find a way to do things a little bit differently. Um, and don't be scared to try. You there's no wrongdoing in trying and failing per se, because failure is means that you've gone further than most people. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. So yes, every business, every market is saturated. That's the reality of the world. But give it a go, and try, think it through, um, start, and then see, reiterate. Can you change things up? We have so much technology at our fingertips now. We can change and move very quickly.
And Benny, I would also like to add that we work with lots of founders ourselves at Doers Circle, and with whatever the expertise, knowledge that we have, we support founders find their niche, their gap, and we would be happy to have a chat as well. If need be, we can pull in other resources within our network as well. So I'm happy to connect with you offline as well. Benny, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Since
absolutely.
we have 2 minutes, I'll quickly pick on Anil's question as well. You mentioned of structure. Did you mean org structure or is reporting KPI monitoring side?
Organizational structure is crap.
Right, right.
Throw that out the window. Make it as flat as possible. Everyone works with everyone. Make it a collaborative environment. Everyone's on the same Slack. Everyone's working together. Even your agentic AI is part of the team. Um, yeah, but hold people accountable to what they say they're going to do, and certain KPIs. So I'd rather have certain people, delivering on what they say and pulling the team towards a certain destination rather than, an organizational structure, which might work well in a big MNC or an enterprise, but the reality is going to kill a startup.
All right, Yannick, thank you very much. We are at the time dot to 5:29, and we kept to the time as well. But thank you so much, Yannick. I think that was very insightful. Lots of information, but lots of insights. The most important things that you've learned over 13 years, and you've shared all that with our audience. So thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who joined, and not just joined, but actively joined as well. And we got so many questions. I think a little more than usual as well. I think Yannick, you've definitely addressed them well. So thank you everyone for joining, and this was also recorded, so it will also go on YouTube. So whoever wants to go back or wants to share, it's going to be available in our YouTube channel in a couple of days' time as well. So thank you again, everyone, Yannick especially, but all the participants, and we will be back again next week on 10th of December, and we have another speaker, and it's going to be a different topic. And next week it's going to be about personal branding for founders. So that's going to be useful and interesting as well. So again, thank you
Interesting.
everyone, and see you again next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.